All right, they are sometimes forgotten heroes, of wounded American servicemen and women who return home suffering from serious injuries after sacrificing body and soul for their country. Sergeant Clay South was shot several times in the head while clearing a house in Fallujah, Iraq, nearly 5 years ago. He and his mother join us live from Indianapolis with their story. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Clay, how's the recovery going?
You know, like I was talking earlier before, the physical aspect is the easiest to do. You know, it's easy, but you know, I still struggle with the emotional and the mental part of it with the PTSD and the TBI.
Mm-hmm. You know, and we spoke to people in the VA as well, and they said many times, obviously, the physical injuries are very difficult to deal with, but sometimes the mental injuries are even worse because you can't go in and sew it up like you can a wound, you know? Right,
yeah, it's totally right. You know, it's, you know, you can see your face get put back together, you know, if you can see prosthetics, you know, that's fulfilling, but the whole mental aspect of it and the psychological part, you just can't fix that, you know, right away. There's no quick solution to that whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's not a day that goes by. Mom, we're going to talk to you in just a little bit, but I'm sure there's not a day that goes by that you don't think about what happened. Can you remember it? Sometimes our wounded men and women in uniform can't even remember how they got injured.
You know, fortunately I can. You know, I look in the mirror every day, it reminds me of what happened, but I remember just as plain as day, you know, I kicked open the door and I got shot point blank in the face by an AK-47. And then, unfortunately, I had my own grenade roll back in my face and take what was left of my face off. So, yeah, I remember it just as plain as day.
Yeah, and we were showing some of the pictures there. Difficult to look at, but that's the reality. I mean, now your face, you look fine. You're a handsome young man. Mom, it must, I mean, incredibly difficult to watch your child have to deal with this.
It is difficult, but Clay maintained a sense of humor throughout. Even the first time we saw him, he couldn't speak, but he did hand motions for us to read. Mm-hmm. He is an amazing young man.
Mm-hmm. What do you say about the treatment, both of you, that you get, meaning medical treatment for healing when you come home? Are there improvements do you see places for improvement, or do you think that it's pretty much up to par?
You know, when I was in Bethesda at the National Naval Medical Center out there outside of D.C., I got treated like a king. I mean, I was treated like a rock star, and my hat goes off to the military doctors, you know, out there in Bethesda. They treated me, I couldn't have been treated any better. I can't think of it, if I want to complain, I couldn't. Mm-hmm. They treated me with the utmost respect, and they treated me like I was a president.
Now, whose idea was it to start to Veterans of Valor and the website? Whose idea was it to work on that? Mom, I know that you blog for Veterans of Valor, and I was actually looking, but there are other websites and blog sites that pick it up. So I'm looking on there and I'm saying, oh, it's on USMC and what have you, but it goes everywhere. Tell us about that, and what was the impetus behind this? You know,
it's kind of one of my brainchild. I have many, so you know, some aren't as good as others, but fortunately, this was a good one. It came with Veterans of Valor. Just the mere fact is, you know, I want to give good gear to the guys that were wounded and the gals. You know, people come back from overseas, and the reason why my gear is so good is because I know it's like I've been there. Mm. And so I just started. That's how we started. We started passing out backpacks, and then we did Dave & Buster's events, and now we're working on a PTSD retreat for the guys and the gals and families.
Mom, Janet, you've got to be proud.
I'm very proud because Clay couldn't remember in the beginning how to tie a shoe, how to put his uniform together. He had severe memory loss, and he still has memory loss for his childhood and other events. But he had I call it forced therapy as he developed Veterans of Valor, but he always had a heart to go to the rooms of his wounded brothers as he did his recovery. Even though he couldn't speak, he would use a dry erase board.
All right, Janet and Clay South, we wish you the very best, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to come and join us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. When ABC News anchor Bob Woodruff was wounded while on assignment in Iraq, it literally changed his life forever. Now every year, Bob and his wife host a major fundraiser to change the lives of the soldiers at war. You're going to hear from them. Well, you may never be the person to write or check about a foundation, but the idea is called Do Something. It's very interesting here. Former ABC News anchor Bob Woodruff was severely injured back in 2006 while on assignment in Iraq, and he and his wife, Lee, started a program to meet the needs of injured service members and their families. On Wednesday, they will host their third charity benefit, Stand Up for Heroes, to raise money for wounded vets. Now, I spoke with them just the other day.
This is going to be massive, maybe the funniest one you've ever been to, and certainly about the best music you've ever been to before. And in fact, a lot of people say this is about the greatest charity event they've ever even heard of. We got, Springsteen's going to come and play again this year. It's the third year in a row. Colbert's going to be there. Brian Williams is actually going to be the MC of it. We got three incredible comedians coming by, and Lee's going to be there, which is not bad either.
I'll add my own brand of humor, but it's actually called Stand Up for Heroes, and the thought is that people heal when they laugh. And so our organization flies 50 wounded heroes and their caregivers up to be in the front row for the show.
But Lee, it's all about fun. I mean, that evening, but really, I guess at the top of it, it's all about raising money and awareness. And tell me what you want to raise money and awareness around.
Well, as we are seeing, there are so many returning from these wars who don't make it in caskets, but there are even more, 13 injured to 1 dead, returning who are wounded, whose lives are changed forever with the hidden injuries of the war, which are the signature brain injuries, amputations, burns, whatever they may be, a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder. These families, some of them aren't making it, and some of them are having a difficult time, and it's a difficult thing to do to fit back into your life. We want to keep America's attention focused on these wounded veterans, and we want to raise money and dollars, which we do with the Bob Woodruff Foundation, Remind.org, to support the organizations all around the country that are helping our veterans.
They're getting a lot from the government too, and it's just not enough coming from the government. That people have to really back this up by private money, and certainly the charities that are around the country in these local communities where the people are going back to.
So it's called Tweet to Remind, and what are you trying to get everyone? Is it $11.11? What's the significance of that?
You did your homework. Yeah, Veterans Day is coming up, and on the 11th, and so we're hoping that when you tweet to remind, and you press the hashtag, you will donate $11.11. We're trying to raise $1 for every one of the 1.9 million now veterans who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. And Bob, I think I've heard you talk about it. We're, Afghanistan and Iraq, but mostly Afghanistan. A lot of IEDs, a lot of guys and girls, are men and women in uniform, being injured there. What do you think needs to be done besides what your organization is doing to help out there? But do you have any thoughts about what can be done there now in the moment?
Well, certainly we want to see we have more defense against about the IEDs. About 85% of those injured in Afghanistan are from IEDs. Probably about 85% of those injured are Afghanis. The rest of the United States military, and of course the coalition as well. But when they come back, it is, we've said many times, it's like an invisible wound. Not many people know, in many cases, that there is injury in this. And so therefore, in their community where they're going back to, they need to get those that want to help the most. People in these cities, whenever they meet some of these veterans when they come back, they want to do something. In a lot of places, though, they haven't actually gotten a chance to meet those in their neighborhood that have served in the war. As soon as they do, they want to help. And so we're trying to identify, the local charities, the people that are working in these towns, if we can back them, vet them to make sure that they're legitimate and efficient, and then that's where the money's going to, things we've already checked out.
All right, I also spoke with Bob and Lee Woodruff about the president's tough decision regarding troop levels in Afghanistan, and Bob's injuries in Iraq. And you can see our entire conversation on our blog. Go to CNN.com/newsroom and just click on Don. And if you want to donate, you can do it right now. Do it right now by logging on to tweettoremind.org. I'll say it again, tweettoremind.org. Tweettoremind.org. It's a great organization. The goal is to raise nearly $2 million, and let's hope they get it.